we are on a D-Day tour with Gold's Beach Company.
Welcome to the Adams Family Travelers. Join us as we use our vacation days to travel around as much as we can and enjoy exploring the world. Make sure you join us on our adventures.
And it's been so interesting so far. So much information, like almost an information overload. But we are at Sainte Mere Eglise. It's a little town in France. It is where paratroopers, I believe from the 82nd Division, paratrooped in. The point was to take the town of Sainte Mere Eglise and to then stop. We're 5 miles about from the beach around Utah Beach to stop like an exit, block the exit of the Germans. So the rumor is, and our tour guide doesn't think this actually happened, but the story from that is that this paratrooper John Steele landed, and they have a mannequin right there, landed on the steeple of the church and was cut down by some Germans. Whether that actually happened or not, we're not sure, but the church celebrates it. We're going to go in the church. The church, apparently it's a medieval church, but there's stained glass from celebrating the liberation of this town here, Sainte Mere Eglise. So we're gonna check it out. But so far, it's been really good and interesting. And this town definitely features in Band of Brothers as well. So the stained glass behind me was, I think, drawn by like a 16-year-old from this town, but it basically shows Mary surrounded by paratroopers, and it's for the liberation of Sainte Mere Eglise. So the stained glass window behind me was given to this town for the 25th anniversary of D-Day. So behind me is a Roman marker, and apparently these markers were like everywhere that Rome took over. And behind me this way, right there, that building is the Airborne Museum. And that, I don't think we have time for that today, but that's supposed to be absolutely fantastic. I've heard really good things about that. So, the identity of Sainte Mere Eglise is a lot of paratrooper and military themed stuff here. They filmed the video The Longest Day here, and really the story of the paratrooper on the steeple, John Steele, has just taken way, and really they really lean into the identity of the paratroopers. There is a hair salon here called Hairborne, like Airborne. They just a lot of different stores. There's a Normandy bar with paratroopers on it. So for lunch, today's a Sunday, so a lot of stuff's closed around here because we are off season. So we stopped at a boulangerie and we got some sandwiches and cookies, and we're going to take that with us. I believe the next stop is Utah Beach. We're at Utah Beach. This is where the forces, half of the American forces would have landed. And it's just amazing to see some of the histories here. They actually landed off course. Where they ended up landing at Causeway 2, there were only 75 men, Germans here, against half the American forces. Where they were supposed to land, it was 160, so it would have been a little harder. But There's dunes. He said the dunes behind me weren't here as much. This is more flat. And this, the bar here that they have here, it's called the Roosevelt, named after, Theodore Roosevelt Jr., Theodore Roosevelt's son, who was the leader of this troop. So we're currently at the Utah Beach Museum. We have about an hour here. He said it's a great overview of the war. Our tour guide said that. And we just watched an English video. Basically Utah Beach. So the Germans had the Atlantic Wall. They had bunkers, like a ton of bunkers along the coast, landmines. They flooded the area. So it was really rough terrain for our guys to fight in. But we took the Utah Beach within 45 minutes, just because we landed offshore. And actually, the Utah Beach part of Operation Overlord wasn't added until 6 months before the plan. It hadn't been originally part of it. And, this is we call it D-Day, but D-Day is the first day of any battle. But this was a very important because we wanted to take Cherbourg, which is a major port. And we turned Utah Beach into a major port for soldiers and equipment. The 800,000 soldiers eventually moved through Utah Beach and 700,000 tons of equipment. Just major importance for the war effort. And we didn't take Cherbourg until about 3 weeks later because of the terrain and the marshland. It was very hard to move, even though it's only like maybe a half-hour drive from here. So behind me is a B-26 Marauder that they have here at the Utah Beach Museum. Behind me is a Higgins boat that would have taken a lot of the troops to the beaches, specifically Utah Beach, and they're made out of wood. Right now it's high tide. They would have landed at D-Day on low tide, and the beach would have been like 700 meters. So they had to go all the way up the beach. They didn't want to do high tide because they would have been right up against the dunes. So all the hedges around here were planted by the Vikings to cut the wind. It actually does work. We got by the hedges and it's a lot less windy. And of course, another reason they didn't want to come in high tide because there was all the obstacles in the way. There were the landmines, the different stuff. And our tour guide says they still find pieces of metal coming up on the beach. There are still landmines around here, not a ton, but it's very rare that someone finds a landmine. But last year, a 65-year-old woman found one in her garden and died. she was digging in her garden and accidentally hit a landmine. So there are still lots of signs of war around here and tons of the German bunkers as well. Behind me, yeah, this way, you can see a German fortification. The signs of the Atlantic War and the wall and the war are still here 80 years later. This is Pointe du Hoc, where the rangers scaled the cliffs. It is between Utah and Omaha beaches. So behind me is Pointe du Hoc, like where I said, where this 2nd Ranger Battalion climbed up the cliffs on D-Day. And actually there weren't many soldiers, German soldiers here. So there weren't many German soldiers here. They had moved the guns because they were building new casements. So it was actually only about 40 German soldiers. So basically, they climbed up the cliffs. So like I said, the guns weren't even here. There were 6 huge artillery guns and they had moved them about a mile away. So we were able to take this pretty easily and overcome the 40 Germans on, D-Day, but 2 days later on June 8th is when the real battle happened. We ended up losing half of the Ranger Battalion. So actually this land at Pointe du Hoc is now owned by the Americans. It was gifted to us by the French. So this is actually American land. And, this was a huge thing with these rangers scaling the cliffs and taking this spot over. This was a big German, bunker area. And also, these guns, luckily they were not not like where they were supposed to be because they could. Utah Beach is, as the crow flies, is about 9 miles from here, and those artillery guns can hit Utah Beach. And also this area is just beautiful with the coastline and the cliffs. It's just beautiful to see and just to remember what happened here. And also, they had been, the Americans and the British had been, bombing here since April 1944. So if there are huge, craters here where there was gunfire. They were trying to knock out the guns and whatnot beforehand. And the Rangers, Brian says they came up before the D-Day operation actually started on June 6th to try to knock out the guns, which ended up not being here. So we are at Omaha Beach now, and the tide is low, and you can see they came in at low tide. They would have had to come all the way across this beach, up to the seawall, and then up the hills there too. Which if they landed, if their boat happened to land where a German fortification was, it made it very hard and very difficult. It's just crazy to be walking here. Super windy out. But the fact that we're on Omaha Beach, where these soldiers fought for our country is just amazing, and I can't put it into words. It's so beautiful here. This is a great spot of remembrance for our soldiers. So we are at the Normandy Cemetery in College de Mer by Omaha Beach, and there are approximately 9,500 Americans buried here from World War II. We were told there were 4 women buried here. They didn't die in battle, but one's plane crashed, and the other 3 were part of the Black Postal Service group, and they were in a Jeep accident. But just rows and rows of graves. I thank all these men and women for their service, in helping our country. And we got to see the tap ceremony of them taking down the flag, which was really special. And on the other side, we're going to walk over there. There are views of the beach as well. This is just a beautiful cemetery, and I'm glad to be able to pay our respects. So behind me is the wall of the names of approximately 1,500 people that went missing during D-Day and the operations in Normandy. So we just came back from our D-Day tour. It was excellent. We were thinking about doing this ourselves. You do need a car if you're going to do it, basically, because there's not really public transportation up in Normandy, or at least in the Bayou area. We saw that you did need an international driver's license to rent a car, and we were only coming for a couple days. We decided to just take the train up here from Paris And because of that, we decided to take a guided tour. So we were in a van with our tour guide, Alex, from Gold Beach Company. He was fantastic. You could just tell he was so passionate about World War II and so knowledgeable. I mean, this is obviously something he's very interested in. He like reads everything about it. He knew little details. I mean, I thought Brian knew a lot, being a history teacher, and he's interested in World War II as well. This guy just, I mean, there's just so much he knows. Just he's an expert, like at least I think so. So basically, I definitely recommend you take a guided tour, even if you do drive up here, because as we were walking along the sites like Utah Beach and Pointe du Hoc, I mean, we would have just been looking at things and not knowing what they are. I think the fact that we had a guide that was so knowledgeable and tell us what we were seeing and what we were looking at and what happened on June 6, 1944, and what happened before that and after that, I just think that made the experience so much better, and it's definitely necessary. So if you're gonna go up to the D-Day sites, I definitely recommend that you have a guided tour. It just, I mean, if you're already up here, you might as well. It costs €135, which a person, I didn't think that was bad for like a 9-hour tour. We left at 8:30 in the morning. We stopped at 5 places. We stopped at Sainte Mere Eglise. We stopped at Utah Beach, and we did the Utah Beach Museum there, which was included in our cost. We then did Pointe du Hoc, Omaha Beach, and then the American Cemetery. I'm really glad we went with the guided tour. I definitely think it's a good thing if you're interested in D-Day and you want to see these beaches. Definitely come up here. I'm so glad that we did. I really want to go see more World War II sites. These were definitely worth it. Just seeing, you know, Operation Overlord and where it took place. I really can't put it into words. Just amazing. So definitely make this trip. It's only a 2.5 train ride from Paris. It's definitely worth combining with a trip to Paris.